I guess that's a little too concussive, huh? Well, the Atom Smasher is already smashing stuff on Sunday GUNDAY. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things, and today I am finally bringing out the Atom Smasher to put it through its first round of testing. Now, this Sunday GUNDAY is going to be a little bit different than the others. I'm not going to do any B-roll overview of this gun because I already did an entire video on it, about 10 minutes long, of every single part that went into this. Just to get the blood flowing a little bit, let's run some of those clips. Here it is in all of its DLC glory. This is a 10.5-inch AR pistol chambered in 5.56 with every high quality part you can imagine, from the receiver set all the way down to the takedown pins. It took a lot of scrounging around on the internet, ordering duplicate parts to find ones that fit best and have the correct finish, but in the end I'm super happy with the result. So that was just a little bit of a teaser if you haven't seen that video already, and if you want to check it out, you can of course click the link up there in the cards. If you're too lazy to check that video out, I'll see if I can do an off the top of the head kind of rundown of everything that went into this. I started this build with a matching Mega receiver set with a handguard to match. I have a PDW brace in the back, a Lunar Concept sling, Magpul QD mounts, as well as a pistol grip, a Radiant safety selector, Odin Works mag release, Geisley charging handle, Geisley buffer, and spring. In here right now I have a 20-round P-mag with a Terran Tactical base plate on it, Strike Industries takedown pins, dust cover, and hand stop. On the inside I'm running a Ballistic Advantage bolt which matches the 10.5-inch barrel carbine length gas system. On the end is an ACC breakout. This thing is obviously removable, and then on top I'm running MBUS Pro sights, an Inforce weapon light, and a Nikon P tactical spur. I believe that covers just about anything, and if you want to check out a full build list on this, I left that in the description of the other video. So I put this thing together a couple months ago, and it's just been sitting in my safe. I've been doing other gun videos, obviously, so now it's finally time to put some rounds down range with this thing. I threw the MBUS Pros on here and then tried to make sure that the spur was kind of co-witnessing with them, so I'm going to be using this first 20-round mag of 5.56 for zeroing, and then I will run the rest of it for a first mag impression, and I will come back and let you guys know what I think of it. Yeah, buddy. Alright guys, first mag impression of the Atom Smasher, and I'm super happy to say that there are no malfunctions and this thing is performing awesome right out of the gate. I obviously tailored this thing to my personal preferences for how I like to shoot ARs. I guess first I will start with the brace. This is obviously a very small package, and that is thanks to this. Because of all of the, I'll just call them weird ATF rules out there, this thing is technically a brace and this is a pistol. This is adjustable for 3 different lengths, so this is it all the way in. You got a medium length here and then all the way out. With this thing fully extended, it's very comparable to a standard rifle with a rifle buffer tube and stock on here. You can definitely shoot this pistol like this, however I prefer to run it on the medium setting here, keep the gun a little bit closer to me and a little bit more controllable. I typically do not shoot with slings on because I'm normally out here for fun. However, this Lunar Concept sling is very nice, especially with a small pistol package like this. Even if I was running this brace all the way in and I did not want to shoulder this, I could tighten the sling up like so. And then instead of putting this on my shoulder, I can simply push out and use the tension of the sling to get a nice steady aim. About a year ago, when it was frowned upon to put these things up against your shoulder, it's dumb, I know. A sling like this would be perfect because it's nice to have that extra point of contact when you're putting your cheek up against this brace. Moving up a little bit, you will find the K2 grip. I put these on almost all of my AR pistols because it just makes it a little bit easier to control, rather than a standard grip angle which will have your wrist kind of bent forward a little bit. A platform like this is much easier for me to control when the grip is a little bit more angled down. The Odin Works mag release, I put that on there for mainly aesthetics. However, it is super positive. You can get to it no problem at all because it is a little bit extended. Same thing with the radiant safety selectors. It does make it easier if you have the stock pulled out halfway. That way you can get both of your fingers in there to actuate it. The selector was a little bit tight in the lower once I first put it in. However, after a bunch of dry firing, I kind of got used to it, and I think the more I shoot this, the more it will loosen up. The bolt catch on the other side, really nothing fancy going on here, but it's nice and billet. I tend to run a lot of Magpul bad levers on ARs and AR pistols like this. However, it didn't really jive with the whole DLC coating of the Atom Smasher. I have no problems getting up here to manipulate this, and I will try to do some reloads in this video to show you how that works. The Geisley buffer and spring and charging handle all feel really great. This is of course ambidextrous, so if I'm pulling from the right side of the rifle, you can see that it actuates the latch. This in combination with the buffer and spring has this thing feeling very, very smooth, and it shot pretty flat as well. Then moving up a little bit further, the handguard and the hand stop. This is all really personal preference depending on how you like to hold your rifle. Because this is a pistol, I cannot legally put a vertical foregrip on here, but this is not a vertical foregrip, it is just a hand stop. I like holding ARs out as close to the muzzle as possible, so this gives me a nice index point in between my two fingers. I can place my hand there and know that I'm not going to be up here touching this muzzle. The AAC device on the end here seemed to do a great job at pushing that blast out forward. It's definitely very concussive, but this is pushing that blast forward, so maybe I will have to take that off and see how loud and concussive this thing actually is without that on there. And then on top we have the light, which obviously out here in the bright sun is not going to do much, but it is very easy to actuate, and I talked about that in the previous video. And then the optic, I'm a big fan of this so far. I put my Magpul MBUS Pro sights on here, like I said, co-witnessed with the Nikon, and then from standing at about this distance, I don't think I missed a single shot that whole time. Although it is very small, the glass in here is very clear, and everything seems to be very true to color as well. There isn't much of a metal border around this, which may make me question its durability. However, I'm not super abusive on my rifles, and because that border is so thin, it's not like an RMR where you kind of get that obstruction. Anytime I'm looking through this, I have a very clear, wide angle of view, and I'm excited to keep shooting this thing. I obviously skipped over the Geisley Super Dynamic Combat Trigger, and this thing is sweet, but I'm gonna save my impressions for that after we put a couple more rounds down range. I brought extra ammo up here with me today because I was dying to shoot this thing, and I figured it was gonna be a blast, and it definitely is. So instead of my typical 150 rounds to get a good impression of a gun, let's put about 300 through this thing. I guess that's a little too concussive, huh? The concussion from the Atom Smasher just destroyed this lens filter. Luckily the lens is okay. Let's not shoot so close anymore. So far it's all been 5.56 that I put through this, so let's try out some 2.23. about a little distance while standing? Too bad. How about a reload from the back pocket? I took the AAC blast diverter off now. I have a feeling this thing is going to be loud and maybe even shoot some fireballs. Well, it's definitely concussive. Still shoots pretty good though. Let's rip another 40 rounder and see what that TA Target's dueling tree can handle. Last one, Panda Tactical. This one's for you. Woo-hoo, buddy. Alright everyone, back for my final impressions of the Atom Smasher, and if it isn't obvious already, I am very pleased with the way that this build came out. I was very selective with the parts that went into this thing, and for a good reason. Aesthetically speaking, I'm very pleased with the way this looks, but at the same time, I did not jeopardize any functionality just for aesthetics. Everything on here serves a purpose. This thing ran flawlessly, and I'm hoping that for the next 300, 500, 1,000 rounds that I put through this, that it's gonna run just as well. To hit on a couple of the different things that I was testing out there, like the reloads, this mag release still works very well. And then even with pulling a mag from my back pocket and slamming it home, I had no problem getting up to the bolt catch here and then driving it back out. This blast diverter turned out to be very much needed, especially with this short 10.5-inch barrel. With this thing off, the pistol kind of recoiled a little bit differently. It might have been a little bit flatter, but when you're running it with this thing off and you have your hand up close to the muzzle, I did feel a little bit of the pressure coming out of the break. It wasn't anything super significant like it was going to burn my hand. The light is a little bit peppered, but it seems to be okay. Still functioning just fine after taking all of those blasts. But this is just much more pleasant to shoot with that on there because it's taking all of those gases and pushing them out the front of the gun. Now onto this Nikon Red Dot for a little bit. I am very, very impressed with this. You can pick one of these up for a little over $200, and so far it's been a great optic. It's a 3 MOA dot, so when I was out there at about 100 yards, I was hitting steel no problem at all. I could go with a dot that's a little bit smaller, however, that would probably make it more difficult when trying to acquire targets. Even out in the super bright, harsh sunlight here on the range, this thing got plenty bright enough, and I don't have any complaints about it as of now. Like I said earlier, the housing on the outside does seem pretty minimal. I'm not sure how this thing would do durability-wise, but for someone like myself, and I'm sure a lot of you out there, I'm not slamming my rifle around, throwing it in the dirt, banging it on the rocks. This thing does feel really solid. It is waterproof, and I'm happy with it, especially at the really good price point. Now let's talk about this trigger, which is probably my favorite thing about this build so far. Just for the safety Nazis, this thing is clear. All right, the first thing that I like about this trigger is, of course, that it is flat. I like flat triggers on Glocks, on any handgun for that matter. My carry guns, if possible, I like flat face triggers. What's nice about a trigger like this is that no matter where I put my finger, it feels the same all throughout the face of the trigger. If I start with my finger towards the top of the trigger and work my way down, this pin is obviously going to be working as a fulcrum point. So the further I move my finger down the trigger, the more leverage I'm going to have, making the trigger pull feel a little bit lighter. Here's the take up to the wall. Very, very predictable, and as you can see, it does not move a whole lot. Once I'm at that wall, there's almost no creep at all, and you get a nice, crisp, clean break. The reset, you'll let the trigger out. Super tactile and audible, very nice, and then you're right on top of the wall again for your follow-up shot. All of the Geissele parts for that matter. This supercharging handle feels great, the buffer and spring in there, no complaints about that at all. I would like to compare their braided spring against a normal spring to see if I could tell the difference back to back, but I will have to save that for a future video. So I guess that's all I had for the Atom Smasher for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the extra couple hundred rounds that I put down range. I normally don't shoot that much in these videos, but I'm definitely happy I did because this thing is fun to shoot. If you have any questions on this build, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Typically, I will reply to comments for the first hour or two after a video is posted. Or if you have any questions about the parts, be sure to go back and check the initial build video of this for a detailed parts list, breakdown of everything that went into it, and maybe that will give you some ideas to go out and work on a project of your own in the future. If you're new to this channel, consider clicking subscribe because I make new videos every week, and that is going to be all for today. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.